Welcome back. This is part 2 of this lesson. We're going to continue immediately from the end of part 1, so let's get started. So next I'm going to demonstrate how we can role switch into this production AWS account, which is now a member of the organization. So when you add an account to an organization, you can do it in two ways. You can either invite an existing account or you can create an account within the organization. If you create an account within the organization, then a role is created within that account which can be role switched into by other accounts within the organization. If you invite an existing AWS account into the organization, then you need to manually add this role, and that's what we're going to do next. So this only applies if you're inviting existing accounts into the organization. So what we're going to do is to move across to the browser or session where you're logged in to the production AWS account. Click in the services search box at the top of the screen and type IAM, and then we're going to move to the IAM console because this is where we create IAM roles. So move to IAM and then go to roles, and we're going to create a role which can be assumed from the general account. So click on create role, and the type of trusted entity is going to be another AWS account. So select this box, and then for the account ID, we need the account ID of the general AWS account, which is now the management account of the organization. So move back to the browser or the session where you're open in the general account, and you need to copy down the account ID of the general AWS account. Make sure you get the general account, not the production account. Once you've got that in your clipboard, we're going to paste this into this account ID box, and this is going to mean that the general AWS account is trusted to assume this role. So enter that into the box and click on Next Permissions. This role is going to have administrator access attached because it's going to be an administration role. So look in the policies and look for administrator access, check that box, scroll to the bottom and click on Next to move to the next screen. And we need to give this role a name. So this role is going to be used when we're logged into the general account and we want to role switch into the production account to perform administrative functions. Now we're going to give this role a very specific name. It's a standard name. This is the same name which AWS use when they automatically create the equivalent role within accounts that you create within the organization. So I like to keep things consistent. So the name of the role is going to be Organization Account Access Role with uppercase O, A, and R, and note that it's the US spelling of organization, so make sure you use a Z rather than an S. Once you've done that, go ahead and click on Create Role. Now if we look inside this role, so select the role, and then click on Trust Relationships, you'll be able to see that this role trusts the account ID of your general AWS account. And this will be different for you. This will be the account ID of your general AWS account. And this is what will allow identities within the general account to assume this role. So the account that's now the management account of the AWS organization. So now I'm going to show you how we can use this role to switch from the general account to the production account. First, we'll need to go back to the browser or the tab which has the general account open, and we're going to need to copy down the account ID for the production AWS account because we're going to switch in to that account using role switch. So copy down the account ID of the production AWS account. You'll need to make sure you're logged into the IAM admin user of the general account. This will only work with IAM identities. Before we do role switch, just move back to the main part of the AWS console. So we've got the main console selected, and then click on the account drop down and then select switch roles. Now this starts the process of role switching from the general account to the production AWS account. So to start that, go ahead and click on switch role. We need to provide the account ID of the production AWS account. So that should be in your clipboard. Just go ahead and paste that in. Next, we need to provide the name of the role within the production account which we want to switch to. This is the role that you just created. So the role which is called Organization Account Access Role with uppercase O, A, and R and the US spelling of organization. So we need to enter that into the role name. Now we need to give give this role switch a display name. So the way that this works is that when you initially do a switch role, it's going to create an entry within the console UI, and this is stored in your browser. So this is nothing to do with AWS, this is just creating a shortcut so you can easily access this in the future. So you need to give it a suitable display name. I suggest prod for production. You also need to pick a color, and I try to be consistent with this. So if I'm creating a role switch which is going into a production AWS account, then I pick red, so I know that this is an important account. So select red, make sure it's called prod, double check the spelling of the role name and make sure this account ID is for the production AWS account, and then click on switch role. Now at this point, this is role switching into the production AWS account. It's actually using the assume role API call to assume the role that you just created within the production AWS account. And you can see that we've switched role because at the top here it's got the color red and it has the display name of prod. So this means that we've switched into this switch role shortcut that we just created. Now let's go back to the general account by clicking on switch back. So this now takes us back into the general AWS account. And if we click on the account drop down again, we can see a role history section. Now when we were just creating this switch role, I mentioned how it creates a shortcut, and this is that shortcut. So now if I click on prod again, it's going to automatically do a switch roles into the organization account access role within the production account. So by clicking this, we go back to the production AWS account. What happens behind the scenes is that we assume the role, we're provided with temporary credentials that role grants when we assume it, and then the console UI automatically handles this move across to the production account. So now we're interacting with the production account using the temporary credentials that we gained by assuming the role. Role switching makes it easy to administer multiple AWS accounts within an AWS organization. Currently we only have the one, but the process would be the same if we had hundreds of AWS accounts. Now let's go back to the general account by clicking on switch back, because now we're going to create the development AWS account within our organization. This is going to be the third and final account that's a member of this organization, and this will complete the account structure you'll be using throughout the course. At this point you can close down the browser window which you have open to the production AWS account or the separate tab, because we won't be needing that anymore. Next, we're going to create a brand new account within this organization. So go back to the AWS Organizations console, click on Add Account. This time though, we're going to create an account within the organization. So click on Create Account. You need to give the account a name, and so I'm going to keep the same naming structure that I've used so far, only using development instead of general or production. And you should do the same. You also need to provide a unique email address which is going to be associated with this development AWS account. So every AWS account, even those created within an organization, they all need to have unique email addresses. Now keep in mind the trick that I talked about at the start of the course, where you can create an unlimited number of unique email addresses for one single Gmail account, but each account does need a unique email address. Now for the accounts that I've previously created as part of this structure, I've used my name, so Adrian, and then plus, and then training, AWS, and then the name of the account. So I'm going to use that same structure here, so Adrian plus, and then training, AWS development at Cantril.io, and you should use the same structure of emails you've been using so far, but use one for the development AWS account. In this box, you can provide the name of the role which will be created within this brand new AWS account. Now, this is the same role that you just created manually for the production account, but this is created automatically by AWS because when you create an account within an organization, the only method that you have to access this account is by switching role into that account. So we need to give the role a name. Now the default is Organization Account Access Role with uppercase O, A, and R with the US spelling, so with a Z, and we're going to use that default. And then I'll scroll down and click on Create, and you should do the same. And at this point, it will create this development account within the AWS organization. Now again, if you get an error message at this point saying you've got too many accounts within the organization, then you might have to lodge a support request to have the limit of the number of accounts within an organization increased. In my case, I haven't had that error, and the development account is being created within the organization, and that can take a few minutes. But if we refresh this after a few minutes, we should see this populated with values. There we go, we can see the development account has been created and it's been allocated with its own individual account ID. Now I want you to go ahead and copy this account ID into your clipboard, because we're going to go ahead and create a new entry in this switch role dialog to allow us to connect to the development AWS account, which is now a member of this organization. So click on the account drop down and select switch roles. We're going to follow the same process that we did for the production AWS account. First, we'll need to enter the account ID for this new development account that we've just created. You'll need to enter the role name. So assuming you picked all of the defaults, this should be Organization Account Access Role with uppercase O, A, and R and the US spelling, so with a Z. For the display name, this time we're going to put dev for development, and rather than picking red, my standard for any development accounts is to pick yellow. So this indicates to us that we should still be careful, but we can be less careful than for a production account, which is in red. So once you've entered all of that information, just go ahead and click on Switch Role. And this will follow the same process as before. So now it's switched role into the development AWS account. So if we move to the main AWS console, this is now a completely new account, the development account. We can click on the drop down and see that we've got a new entry in the role history. We could switch back to general. We could move across to the production AWS account. We can move directly to the development account, so we don't have to go back to the general account before moving to the development account. We can just use these role switch shortcuts to move directly between accounts. So now that we're in the development account, if we just go to the IAM console, I want to point out that even though we didn't directly create it, by creating a brand new account within this organization, AWS has created this organization account access role on our behalf. And if we click on it and then go to trust relationships, this role trusts this same general account ID. So this is the general or the management account of the organization. So by creating this account directly within the organization, AWS has created this role on our behalf that we can switch into from the general AWS account. So at this point, that's everything that I wanted to cover in this demo lesson. Now you have three different AWS accounts. You have the general AWS account, which was originally a standard AWS account, which is now the management account of this AWS organization that we've just created. In addition to this management account, we've invited the production AWS account into this organization, and we've manually created the role, allowing us to switch role into the production account. And then finally, we've created a brand new account directly within the organization, which is the development account, and AWS automatically on our behalf has created the role within the development account that we can switch role into. So now we have these three AWS accounts. We have the management account, the production account, and the development account, and that's everything which I wanted you to do in this demo lesson. So go ahead and complete this video, and when you're ready, I'll look forward to you joining me in the next.